People are seriously out here defending DuhBaby's comments. I had no plans to revisit this after talking about it in my last video, but a few days after I filmed, DuhBaby started feeling the consequences and had to issue the apology. Let's not forget that consequences are not the same thing as accountability. Accountability can neither be forced nor enforced, not really, because that would mean holding yourself responsible for your actions and then making changes, and no one can do that for another person. Accountability has to come from DuhBaby his own self, and I'm not going to hold my breath. The second statement he issued, which he clearly did not write, did actually contain the words, "I apologize to the LGBTQ plus community," unlike the first statement, which was much more along the lines of, "I said what I said." But the second statement, the one that actually contains the words, "I apologize," most of that is the usual crap about DuhBaby needing to learn and grow, and it spends most of the character limit trying to paint DuhBaby as the victim. The main thing that we must never forget here is that his publicist, or whoever actually wrote this statement, only cooked this up after DuhBaby was being removed from Lollapalooza and other festivals. In other words, after his bag was being affected. The last time that I talked about this man, I did mention that there have been plenty of other instances where he has shown that he is a garbage person. We been knew. His misogyny, colorism, and violence is well documented. But what DuhBaby said in his rant is not unusual, let alone unpopular in rap. Misogyny and rap go together like peas and carrots. Equally fucked up, homophobia in rap is as old as rap itself, which has everything to do with homophobia in Black and brown communities being off the charts. The pervasiveness of anti-LGBT attitudes is too big of a beast. It's too massive of a problem to even tackle in this video. For now, I'll just say that this stems from trying to conform to gender and race roles that hurt everyone, including cisgender men. I'm not going to claim that it hurts them equally because that is false. Nonetheless, the existing archetypes of what masculinity means, what it looks like in an anti-Black patriarchal framework, hurt everyone. Even though the terms that we use, LGBTQ, non-binary, two-spirit, etc., even though these terms are newer to some of us nowadays, the existence of people who identify in these ways predates the gender binary. They predate heteronormativity, and by a lot. In a nutshell, gay people, trans people, queer people have all existed way before homophobia did as we know it. That bullshit only came along with puritanical colonialism and the myth of white supremacy. Freedom never has and never will trickle down. What trickles down is oppression, and if I say it once, I've said it 1,000 times. Ain't nobody free till everybody's free. Better said, only when the most marginalized among us are free, then and only then will we have destroyed the systems that oppress us all. And when I say most marginalized, I'm talking about people who experience the most intersections of oppression, being Black, being queer, being poor, the list goes on. And none of us can have freedom without safety. Freedom does not exist without safety, which is why it is a problem when DuhBaby and people like him perpetuate these attitudes that legit make the world unsafe for people who don't conform to roles that are designed to exclude almost all of us anyway, including DuhBaby. He lives in the same oppressive systems that we do. He's a Black man in a racist, chauvinistic country. The exact conditions that foment the very toxic masculinity, colorism, internalized Blackness that we see in DuhBaby and so many others. Trickle-down oppression. I'm reading The Will to Change right now in one of my reading groups, and Bell Hooks breaks down this concept so well. She really gets deep into it. I will link that book below on not Amazon. Point is, was anyone really surprised by what this man said in Miami? He is one of many Black men and women who believe these things, and he's been consistent in character. To be shocked that he said these things is naive at best and disingenuous at worst. I was on Zoom last night in a political education class that I'm co-facilitating, and one of my comrades, I don't want to say your whole government girl, but if you're watching, what's up, V? And she was talking about how LGBT folks often aren't safe or welcome on some HBCU campuses. HBCU campuses. So again, spaces that are literally for us, but that are not safe for all of us. Painful to hear, but not surprising at all, because when I think about DuhBaby, he probably just read Da Room. I'd bet my life that this is not the first time that he's made comments like this in front of a bunch of people, and more accurately, There were a lot of people in there who probably had no problem with his comments, who agreed with them. This is probably just the first time that someone actually recorded it, or I should say it's the first time someone recorded it and posted it to the internet, and it got picked up by enough outlets that something had to be done, and now DuhBaby is in the doghouse. DuhBaby and people like him are this way because of systemic triumphs, not failures. The system is working exactly as it was designed to do. Having said that, he's still responsible for his words and actions, because there's plenty of people in the same system who don't behave this way. To say that it is only the system's fault and the system is the only problem would be the same thing as saying that Candace Owens isn't responsible for the anti-black bullshit that she spews every goddamn day because of the problem of white supremacy writ large. Fuck that, hell no. It is on us as individuals to resist, to learn, to get our minds free, to do the work. I hate that phrase. For DuhBaby to pretend that he didn't know better is an insult to our intelligence just as much as Matt Damon acting like he just learned not to say the F slur that rhymes with tag. What a dipshit. Personally, I'm glad that there are consequences for DuhBaby because there should be. Like I said, I don't think there will be lasting effects from this or that he's actually canceled. He'll be fine, as will Matt Damon. But there are still a whole lot of people out here whining about DuhBaby being canceled and doing all sorts of mental gymnastics and revisionist history to try to defend indefensible statements. One of the most common defenses is also one of the most moronic things I think I've ever seen in my life, where there are people who are claiming that anyone who condemns DuhBaby is anti-black and is part of a white supremacist agenda, a coup in other words. To everyone making this argument, let me be clear. If you hate gay people more than you love black people, just say that. Because to equate defending DuhBaby's garbage comments with being pro-black is ironically one of the most anti-black things you could do. I know this sounds like an I know you are, but what am I rebuttal, but hear me out. To believe that his comments were perfectly okay and that it is somehow anti-black to point out that they definitely were not is what is anti-black, in fact. These people have brainworms. Because hate speech like this, just like I was saying earlier about chauvinism and patriarchy writ large, it harms everyone. Because guess what? There are black LGBT people. Because the core of that argument is saying that to stand up for LGBT folks is to stand up only for white people, thereby erasing all of the black folks in the LGBT communities. This is how we wind up with Stonewall getting whitewashed to look like this bullshit. Now, we do definitely need to call bullshit when some people are only able to summon their outrage when white people are affected. Because yes, the consequences are often disproportionate, or if the consequences exist at all, only because white people are affected. That is absolutely real. Which is why we say hell the fuck no to white supremacy also too as well. Plus. But the disproportionate levying of consequences and outrage doesn't mean that we should just let it go when DuhBaby or anyone else says hateful, bigoted things. We say hell the fuck no to that too. Get you a brain that can do both. I had to turn my lamps on because the sun is setting on me, so it's getting darker and darker and I am not busting out the ring light, y'all. Disproportionately low outrage for when white folks fuck up is not fixed by ignoring it when someone does something legitimately terrible and they happen to be black. Y'all are deciding whether or not to care about bigotry based on the identity of the victims rather than what the wrongdoer actually did. The ethics are non-existent. And to make bizarre, ahistoric claims like, where was y'all's energy the last time the police murdered one of us? Whose internet are you even on? Have you been asleep the past year? It is the longest of long walks to suggest that to rebuke DuhBaby's rant is to be an Uncle Tom or a bedwench. If you support his comments, then you are the one who is anti-black. You don't get to act like you're pro-black and then pick and choose which black people you'll support based on their identity. Let alone to side with the abuser when someone's been harmed because you don't agree with the victim's identity. The fuck? Y'all, I could keep going. I have so many more points that I could make and just dumb other arguments that I've seen defending DuhBaby that make no sense, but the sun is setting on me. It's getting dark. I feel like I've said enough. So I hope you guys enjoyed this mini tea talk, and I hope that this is also the last time that I will ever have to speak about DuhBaby. Yeah, because there's a leaf blower going just in time, so I really should just get the fuck up out of here. Y'all stay safe, stay dangerous, and never trust anyone with a Morphe code. Bye-bye.
That's a nappy-headed hose there, I'm going to tell you that now.